So I think of this as if I have a potential client, is this a quality client? If I want to make a new friend, is this a quality friend? A business partnership, is this going to improve the quality of my business? And if it's not, I'm not going to do it. That's my gauge. Is it improving the quality of my life or not?
I'm Rees. This is the Sophia Unfiltered podcast where we bring together thought leaders, wellness entrepreneurs, makers, and emerging health leaders. We're here to have raw, unfiltered conversations because sharing your stories has the power to change lives, help others heal, and transform the way we take care of ourselves. Here we go. Well, hi, everyone, and welcome back. I'm Rees, and today we are excited to introduce Dez Stephens. So, Dez, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're super excited to hear all the things. You've been a coach for almost 20 years. You've been training. You're the trainer of the coaches. And you published a book on the Qualitarian. It's a Qualitarian Lifestyle. So I can't wait to jump into all of these different topics. Where should we start?
Ooh, let's start with the book.
Oh, okay.
I think, the Qualitarian lifestyle, as I coin it, it came from many years ago. Gosh, my daughter was so little when I said this for the first time. I used to work for Vegetarian Times magazine, and people will call themselves paleo, ovo-lacto, pescatarian, all those different kinds of atarians. And I just called myself at the time a qualitarian because I thought, well, I'm just going to focus on the quality of foods I feed myself. And then I thought, wow, that really extends to the thoughts I'm thinking, the friends I'm keeping company with, the emotions I act on, the career choices I make. So it's every part of my life has become this qualitarian now. And it's not about restriction. It's not about expansion even. It's just about my values, my beliefs, how they inform how I act in the world. So that's why I call it the qualitarian.
Yeah. And I guess I can see now that you're saying this, how you ended up with the name, right? So it's quality, and because most people think qualitarian, they think of the diets, right? But so you were working at a magazine. Is that what you said?
Vegetarian Times magazine.
A Vegetarian Times magazine.
I became a vegetarian when I was 15, and it was a rolling around on the rug with my German Shepherd moment where I looked down at his leg and it looked like a chicken leg to me. And I thought, wow, I wouldn't eat that leg, but I'm eating chicken legs. That's kind of interesting. So I stopped eating meat. So I would eat strawberry ice cream and Doritos. I didn't know what I was doing. So I worked for Vegetarian Times magazine to learn more about how to eat well. And honestly, until I got pregnant with my daughter, I didn't care as much. But once I became pregnant, I thought, I'm really going to focus on my health and what I put in my mouth because it's feeding her as well. So yeah, that's how it all started. And of course it extends
Yeah.
beyond food, but that's how it started.
Yeah, absolutely. And so tell us a little bit about what led you to coaching.
I think for some of us, we don't see it in ourselves. I was at work, this is about 20 years ago. A respected colleague of mine who was an exercise physiologist turned to me and she said, "You would make the most amazing life coach." And I thought, wow, and why me? And she said, well, you're compassionate, you're resourceful, you really care about people. And I said, well, I don't think I would be a good coach because I'm not a good listener. And she said, well, you're going to learn how to listen if you go to school for it. And I said, oh, so I signed up literally just to learn that, how to listen better, not thinking that I was going to do it as a full-time career. But while I was in the school, I thought, wow, this is really me. And I was like a fish to water with the content. So here I am 20 years later, still doing it and now training people to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I know you're cutting 20 years and cutting it and making it maybe not selling yourself, but this is amazing to have lasted in the industry this long. We know a lot of people don't, right? Because it's really hard to, once you get into the business of this, it's really hard, right? So you've been doing this for 20 years, which means you've been obviously very successful at it. And not only that, you're consulting, you speak for major employers across the country. So just to give our listeners a little perspective of who Dez actually is, I'll sell it for you. You've written a book. This is amazing, and you founded the Radiant Coaches Academy. So what when you started coaching, then tell us a little bit about what got you into the academy.
So for 7 years as a coach, I was constantly asked, how do I become a coach? Or where do I go to coach training? Or I want to maybe become a coach. So I would send them to my school that I attended in California. I would recommend other schools like in Colorado. And I eventually thought, wow, there's nothing where I lived at the time, which was Nashville. So I just thought to myself, well, actually, it was my husband's thought. My son was 3, and I was thinking about going back to full time coaching after being home with him. And he said, you know how you're a coach and you make money for all those people, and I was a marketing coach at the time. You know how they're all famous and rich because of you? Why don't you do that for yourself? And I thought, I might want to do that. And the first thought I had when he said that was, I want to train coaches to do this. So that's why I started Radiant Coaches Academy to train holistic coaches. And now we have 1,100 students in 25 countries in 10 languages.
I mean, that's incredible, right? I mean, what you've managed to accomplish is just absolutely incredible. And I'm sure you've learned a little bit over the way. So we're hoping to get some of these insights in here. So you didn't just stay in the US, you went around the countries. I know there's a special place in your heart for different, people in different places. So do you want to tell us a little bit about like your whole mindset to go outside of the country and a little bit about the special work you're doing?
Yes. I think, even if you're a coach or a consultant or a mentor or a speaker or an author, mediator, whatever you are, we're more than that, right? We're multi-passionistas. I have a for-profit company in the United States. I also have a nonprofit company outside of the US. And I do work with the United Nations through this nonprofit that I founded in Honduras with 4 family members. And basically, what we do is we provide grief recovery coaching to Central Americans who are suffering from the effects of kidnappings and governments that are corrupt and natural disasters and extreme poverty. But my real heart is with Indigenous peoples, whether it's there or elsewhere. I did a film about Indigenous women, water protectors, that was up for an Emmy in 2022. We provide full scholarships to Indigenous peoples on Canadian reserves and Native American reservations, literally because the accessibility and affordability has not been afforded to them. So that's where my heart really is.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. Okay, and I want to take a little bit of a step back. So you are a holistic life coach. So for our listeners who may not understand this world, can you explain a little bit about what a holistic life coach is and how that's different maybe from just a life coach?
Yeah, I think holistic helps in your marketing. It helps someone to realize you're going to coach the whole person. If someone comes and wants to talk to me about their money, it's going to affect their relationships, their body, their stress. If they want to talk about work, that's probably affecting their whole life. So nothing is interdependent in a way. Nothing is independent of something else, right? We're connected in a way. If I see my clients as whole, and if I coach all of them. So if I'm a holistic business coach, I'm going to coach the whole business. And if I'm a holistic wellness coach, I'm going to coach every part of someone's wellness. If I'm a holistic life coach, I'm going to coach every part of their life. If I'm a holistic marketing coach, every part of their marketing, right? So part of this is honoring that someone is absolutely holding everything that they need to get to where they want to be. So I'm seeing them as whole and I'm coaching all of them. That's what I mean by holistic.
Yeah, it's incredible because you're talking about like grief. I mean, it just seems like no subject is really off topic.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to be a money coach, you don't have to have an accounting background. Money is about energy, safety, and security and foundation. So I think a lot of people think, well, I maybe can't be a wellness coach because I'm not a nurse, I'm not a doctor, I'm not an acupuncturist, I'm not a chiropractor, I'm not a yoga teacher, right? But you can be a wellness coach because you have a body, your clients have a body, and you're coaching them about their body, nutrition, fitness, hydration, movement, rest, whatever it is.
How did you become to adopt this holistic approach?
Wow, that's such a good question. In the early 90s, there was something called the Brandwell Collaborative. And, Johns Hopkins and Duke and Northwestern and a bunch of places got together and they said, we want to call medicine integrative medicine, not alternative, not complementary, not even functional. So holistic medicine was kind of a term back then that they wanted in some ways to squelch, where they could accept people's insurance cards for, things like yoga therapy, acupuncture, and they wanted to kind of control the language. So that's why you'll see Osher Center for Integrative Medicine. In Nashville, they used to call it the Vanderbilt Center for Integrative Medicine. So that integrative medicine is really caught off in allopathic care. But I think the word holistic really for me showed up. I used to work for a place called the Institute for the Healing Arts. We did a lot of holistic programming there. Back then, though, that was a word that oftentimes was used with a W in front of it. That's the English spelling from the UK. But I guess I just have always resonated with that word. It's seeing something as a whole and it's honoring something as a whole. So I guess I just kind of coined it that way.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Um, when you're training the coaches, right? So how long is your program? Can you tell us a little bit about what you're teaching them?
Our program is holistic coaching. So they decide, am I more like a life coach, a wellness coach, or a business coach?
Oh, wow.
And our program is, between 6 and 12 months, depending on their pace, because it's a self-paced program. There are 3 different levels accredited by the International Coaching Federation. So they dive in, they have an online course, they have live Zoom classes, we have in-person retreats that are not mandatory, but really fun. And they are the client a lot in the program. They're doing a lot of self-work. So at the end of coaching and training, they will become certified. And then if they keep going, they're credentialed with the International Coaching Federation. And honestly, this is what potential clients are looking for. They're looking for that credential because consumers are getting more savvy. They see certified and they know that that could just be a diploma they got on the internet over the weekend for $20. So they're really looking for that credential, whether it's the National Board for Health and Wellness Coaching or the International Coaching Federation. So yes, we teach on those principles, those tenets, those core competencies. But with our program, it's a little different in that we're very progressive. We're very cutting edge. So we're delving a lot into quantum physics and metaphysics because we're learning more about how the mind really works to make it more effective to coach people.
Wow. Okay. So there's a lot that I want to unpack here. But let's start with this. You're learning a lot and the cutting edge piece of this. So, what have you guys learned? Like, what can our listeners really pull from this amazing insight from Des? I mean, are we talking about if you know how the mind works, what can we be doing at home to take care of ourselves or top holistic health hacks? What have you got for us?
There's so many physical ones that you'll learn from wellness coaches, right? Like how to sleep better, hamstring stretches before bed and, cherry juice and things like that. I have so many good hacks about sleeping and resting and hydration and movement and all that. But I will say the thing that I find most powerful lately is just neuro drills, somatic exercises that just help your everyday life. I'll just give you one example of one right now.
Okay.
So it's always to the right first, by the way. So if you put your right ear to your right shoulder, actually, let's do this first so you'll see how effective it is. First, just relax in your seat. Just look to the right as far right as you can and just kind of notice how far your eyes can go.
Okay. So for everybody listening, take a second. We're going to look to the right.
Just look to the right to see where your face goes, where your eyes go, and then do it to the left. Just kind of see what your range is before you start. Okay? Just see what your flexibility was. Now, this is the neuro drill. You're just going to put your right ear, you might be seeing it looking to the left here, but it's your right ear to your right shoulder. Just doesn't matter how flexible you are. And then just with your eyes, look down at your right shoulder. Just your eyes, not your face, just your eyes. And then look back straight. Gently come back up to center. Do the same thing on the left, where your left shoulder is just leaning down to your left ear. Your ear and your shoulder are meeting. And when you get comfortable, just look down to your left shoulder with your eyes to the left. Okay. Do it again on the right. Just right ear to right shoulder, eyeballs looking at the right shoulder, gently coming back, left ear to left shoulder. Look down with your eyes to your left shoulder. Gently come back to center. And just to see what happened, look to the right again and the left again and see if that range changed.
Oh my gosh, I have so much more range in both
I know.
sides.
Isn't that interesting? So that's your vagus nerve. You just stimulated and in many ways relaxed your vagus nerve. So
Wow.
there's oh my gosh.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Are we like more
Yeah,
focused? What this is
wow,
so
it's
this is incredible. I
it is
couldn't even move my left.
I
I
know.
could hardly look at the left shoulder.
This is what I mean by it's not physical hacks you want to look for. I mean, we're doing a physical exercise
Right.
here. You just did something with your brain, not your body, right? And I will say, oh, there's someone so good on TikTok and Instagram you have to follow. Hey Margie, HeyMargy. Hey Margie. Neuro drills expert, somatic exercises all day long if you want quick ones. But the point is that we're learning that the vagus nerve, how important that is, how we can have our brain health affect our physical health, right? And somatic exercises, it's easy to go to the body, right? You mentioned grief before. If you're sad, if you've been holding your grief for a long time, guess what the easiest way to let go of it is? It's not the heart, by the way. It's not the brain. It's the body, right? If I go in Honduras, by the way, in Central America, I learned from indigenous people there, there's an expression called give it to the sea, give it to the sand in their language. And what they mean by that is kind of like the soft underbelly of a turtle. If you lay down on the ground, some people might call this earthing, right? Whether it's at the ocean or a piece of grass in the mountains, doesn't matter where it is. If you lay belly down and you cry, Mother Earth will take your tears for you, gladly take your tears. And that somatic release, that physical release is so powerful that it's more powerful than if you tried to kind of feel that grief away, right? To lift that sadness with your heart is harder. It's easier to do with your body. So if you want to let something go, let it go with your body, your voice, a song, a movement, a dance.
Scream, yell, sing, get it out, cry.
Doing now, yes, right. So the body holds the memory, all the memory, right? And here's something interesting. Science will tell us things like, sure, we're half mom and half dad biologically, but 90% or so of the mitochondria in our cell makeup comes from our mother. So we're holding a lot of mother memory, and we might have a lot more energy that came from mom. And of course, we were in mom's womb. So it's easier to release, let's say, mom issues through the body, right? Some people might write a letter to mom if they're trying to forgive mom about something. And I'm just talking about a dysfunctional mom thing here. But even if you love your mom, the mother wound can be really strong in all of us, right? So a lot of us go to therapy, and sometimes a yoga class where you're in pigeon pose and you're releasing through the psoas muscle can be more effective with releasing than even talk therapy.
I mean, everybody, and I was about to say, like, there's talk therapy, which is like the most commonly known about, but which we know at Sophia Health, there's so many other different things. I was going to say, most coaches are into journaling. So I feel like when you talking about this, it's incredible.
Talking. This is what I'm noticing. Coaches, yes, talk to their clients. It's a coaching conversation, but we use a lot more nonverbal exercises, let's say. We do a lot of somatic work, and some great therapists do this too. I'm not saying therapists don't.
Right. Of course.
But coaches have learned we're not replicating counseling. We're not trying to sit in a room with another person with a rug and a lamp and talk to them for an hour. That's not what we're trying to do. Although 20 years ago, that's kind of sort of what I was taught to do. But now we know there's hugging coaches, walking coaches. It's a lot more somatic work, retreats, you name it, right? Group coaching, team coaching. And it has become something that I did therapy for 7 years as cognitive behavioral therapy. And I did some great stuff like EMDR and EFT and all the other things that therapists can utilize. But it only got me to a certain place. Somatics took me to a new place. There is a great CNN article about the workout witch now. She has a great program. She's a somatic therapist. This is catching on a lot of more attention. So you might have a client show up and say, I want to do somatic work. I want to do that.
We absolutely have people showing up and looking specifically for somatic practitioners, somatic coaches, etc.
And it's effective. It's very quick. I spent 20 years grieving about something. It only took me about 2 weeks to release it somatically. And I didn't know I could until I learned how I could. So whether it's neurofeedback, somatic drills, whatever it is, it's so beautiful to see the release. that happens in the body. And I was holding extra weight for decades. And some of that 60 pounds got released once I did that work because my body, my mind, and the mind, remember the mind is the consciousness, the emotions, and the thoughts, not just the thoughts. Some people say mind and they think the head, right? But as soon as I was able to release it somatically, my physical body started releasing everything, and my emotions and my thoughts and everything else started improving.
It's really incredible. I mean, I know we keep talking about the mind body connection, but I just feel like people don't actually put it into practice as much as we should. I mean, I think we're getting there, but I still don't think that we really take hold of that power that we have, right? Like we all struggle with grief, we all struggle with so many things, but there's a lot of tools that we have at our fingertips that can really help a lot of people. That's incredible.
Yeah, I think recovery is a big part of this. Addiction recovery, as someone might say, I'm in recovery, right? Pain recovery, loss recovery. This is very much, we're in a process of it. It doesn't happen overnight, right? But if we are, sad about a move or a job loss or a death of a pet, something like that, that is powerful stuff in our life. And we feel pretty alone in our grief. And we are doing it alone. We're born alone. We die alone. That's the reality of our world. But I think that having a partner in that, Sophia Health practitioners can just support you in your self-healing and hold your hand while you're going through all of this, because we're not meant to really do it alone. We're meant to be in community, but when we get into those grief and loss and pain places, we can isolate and we can feel like we're having to do it alone. So I always encourage people, even if you're introverted, even if you're in a lot of pain and it feels like you're isolating yourself, reach out, even just go to the Sophia Health website and you'll feel better just being on the website.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Okay, but let's circle back. We just did this exercise. Okay, now tell me what we did. What did this vagus nerve? I have new movement. I want to do this literally. I'm going to set a post-it note to remind myself to make this time. It took 5 seconds.
Connected your brain and your body is what you just did. I'll give you another one.
Okay.
So everyone wonders about how to get into the present moment.
Mhm.
They hear this concept, like, I want to be in the present moment, but like, how do I do that, right? Here it is. Oh, now it's gone. Here it is. Now it's gone again, right? A quantum physicist that I can't remember his name right now, but he did a TED talk about this, a professor, I think at Stanford, and he talked about standing at the ocean as a metaphor. The ocean is the future, the sand is the past, and that foamy kind of white line that moves, the water, that's the present moment. It's very fleeting. You can't really grab it, but there it is, right? That's the concept, right? But to do it in the body is the easiest way to understand it. So if you lightly scratch your fingernails on your skin, maybe on your forearm, this is the present moment. It's undeniable. You can't not feel it, right? Unless you can't feel your forearm. So this is what I do when I'm coaching. If I'm in the future, I'm in the past, I'm losing my attention, I just pinch myself lightly or scratch my skin lightly, right? This is the present moment right here, right here.
We're in it right now.
Yeah, it's not a concept. It's a reality, right? So I think the first thing to consider is, am I in my body, right? A lot of us aren't in our lower bodies. I have clients who say, I can't even feel my lower body below my belly button.
Can you expand on that? What is that? What are they saying?
There might be a numbness, like people are floating heads. Some people, a psychiatrist might say you're a floating head. And what they mean by that is you're all in your thoughts. You're not even in your body. You're disconnected. So let's say you have trauma in the body. Let's say like my arm was broken in 8th grade and I can kind of feel that part of my bone that got broken. And when it rains, I can kind of feel it, right? The body's very knowing, right? So there might be a little numbness there. Maybe there's nerve damage from an accident or a surgery or something, right? So there might literally be a nerve damage. You can't feel it, but sometimes it's emotional. Sometimes it's trauma induced. Right. For me, I'll speak about this as a very personal topic, but I'm happy to share it because I think it can be part of all of our healing. But I don't even like this word, but I was sexually molested as a child. I'm not going to use that word again, but I'm just going to say that as the term that everyone uses. But being harmed that way shut me down in that part of my body. In fact, the weight I gained was from my rib cage to my knees. And that is very indicative of where my trauma was. I was protecting my body, cushioning it up, like pushing people away. Don't get near me. So if there's a part of your body, I have a client who says, I can't feel my thighs. I can't feel my quadriceps. They're very tingly and numb. And it's not a physical problem. It's an emotional, psychological problem. So for her, it's a questioning. I don't assume, I don't give advice, I don't give medical advice, I don't diagnose, I don't analyze,
Right.
I don't give treatment plans.
Treatment, right?
So for her, when we started examining it, for her it was about her mom. She said, I think it's about my mom. And I think I'm feeling numb about my mom. And she was grieving her mother who had passed earlier than expected. So this client figured out the part of my body that was grieving my mom and not wanting to feel it wound up in her legs. So I think she eventually chose to do some earthing exercises, and she's a singer, so she went probably into the studio and did some beautiful singing about it. But eventually it lifted this numbness in her thighs. So ask yourself right now, for the listeners, where am I not feeling in my body? Right? So one way you might be able to tell this is, where am I feeling energy? Right? Most of us are feeling a lot in our head, our face, our shoulders. You might feel tight shoulders, relaxed shoulders, whatever it is. A lot of us hold tension in our hips, and this is a way to indicate whether you do. So whether you're sitting down in a chair, please sit down. If you're not, try this out. It's just, in a chair, ask yourself how your hips are feeling. Just, are they tight? Are they loose? Are they relaxed? Just notice where they are. Now relax them. Let them drop an inch into your chair if you can. Just relax the psoas muscle, the pelvis. The psoas muscle, by the way, goes from the back to the front, from the lower back to the front of your thigh. So it's a thing that kind of helps you lift your leg. So Riley, right before you had your baby, you might have noticed this. We have a piece of cartilage in the front of our pelvis that widens and expands to let that baby out. And it affects that psoas muscle to pick up the front top of your leg. So you might have noticed when you were very pregnant, like it's hard to walk even, right?
Absolutely.
So just notice. Now notice how relaxed they are. Relax them even more. Relax them even more. Drop them, soften them, and just check in now. Where are they now? So 30 seconds ago, your pelvis was more tight. Now it's more relaxed. You didn't notice how tight your pelvis was until you went there, right? So most of us feel energy, but go somewhere where you're not feeling it. Maybe it's a toe. Maybe it's the back of your leg or something like that. But just notice where you're not feeling anything. Maybe it's your back. A lot of us don't, like touch our backs a lot and might not feeling a whole lot back there. But I don't mean like, are you being touched there? But are you feeling any sensations there, right? So right now in this moment, I'm tuning in and I kind of feel like my left kneecap feels a bit like not energized, right? So now I can just send energy there. So now I can ask myself, the left side of my body, that's interesting. That's the feminine side of my body. So the knee is about, and legs and feet and thighs and all that are about action, right? Like, am I stepping into something or not? But it's on my left side. So am I receiving well? Am I receiving well about my actions? I don't know. It's just something to consider. The right side of my body is the masculine side of my body. Ask yourself, Riley, where are most of your injuries in your body from the past, left or right?
Oh my gosh, it's in my right knee.
Okay, so the right knee is about action. It's about purpose. It's about career. It's about, stepping out in the world. The masculine energy would say, and this is debatable, honestly, because this whole the divine masculine and feminine, it's a controversial subject, but let's just say for argument purpose here, the right side of your body, your right knee is about, the right knee is not designed very well. It's not a ball and joint, like our shoulder is, right? So it's just a hinge and it can get
the dumb joint, right?
Yeah, it's not a good design, right? But the miracle is that we're standing on 2 feet, right? The design of the human body is pretty miraculous, but we have these hinge joints that are kind of unusual. And I have this thing called discoid meniscus in my knees, meaning that the cartilage is misshapen. I was born with misshapen cartilage, so I have a lot of knee things. But knees are about like, am I feeling stable in my masculine if it's on the right? So it's just an interesting conversation to have about
Is interesting.
isn't it? Maybe it's your right eye. What am I what am I having trouble seeing in my action? If it's the left eye, what trouble am I having seeing my receiving of maybe a compliment? Who knows? But left side receiving, right side acting. You'll notice you'll stub your toe on the left and you'll knock your shoulder into a door frame, and it's all on the left side of one day. So if you're noticing that, ask yourself, what am I not receiving well? Because femininity is all about receiving and nurturing. If it's on the right side of your body, ask yourself, am I nervous about stepping out? Am I feeling trepidation when I'm, do I feel like I have imposter syndrome? Do I feel afraid of something in, taking action in the world? Well, now you can address that fear. And here's how to address it, by the way. Ask yourself what you're afraid of, and then ask yourself what you prefer to feel. It's that simple. We can be afraid for years, but if you ask yourself, what do I prefer feeling versus this? Now you lean into that. So I might ask my client if they're feeling fearful about a new job. I might say, what do you prefer feeling? And the preference might be, I want to be excited about my new job. Great. Let's talk about the excitement, right? Now we're leaning into the excitement, and we're leaving that fear behind, because fear is natural, absolutely normal and natural to feel the fear because it's something new. But we're trying to train our brain into leaning into that place where we prefer. And no one teaches us in school. We need to know, and we need to teach our kids this, that feelings and thoughts are choices. We can choose our feelings and our choices, right? We're having about 80,000 thoughts a day about, it's something, I don't know how many that breaks down. I want to say it's like 5 per minute or second or something like that, but we have about 100,000 emotions a day, constantly on a roller coaster of thoughts and feelings, and we can grab them and attach to them. That's usually what we do. Or we can just let them pass through us like a child does. You see a child get upset, they cry really intensely and they let it go and they move on. Adults, we
2 seconds, 2 seconds, right?
and we're like mad 2 weeks later, 2 years later about something, right? So allowing those thoughts and those feelings to move through us, because they're neutral. They are not us. They're just moving through us.
And what you hold on to, isn't this true? Like, your perception is your reality. Like, what you think, you become, right? So isn't that like, and then the reality today, that's already old news. Like, what's next, right? So you can choose. Isn't that right? We can kind of choose our future. We can choose what we think. We can choose what we want our lives to. We can choose anything.
We can choose the way our body looks. It takes about 2 years, by the way. Today, decide, okay, back up and ask yourself, what were you thinking about your body 2 years ago? 2 years ago, what were your thoughts about your body? What were your emotions about your body? Because that informed your body today. It takes about 2 years for a thought you're having about your body today to catch up to your body in about 2 years in general. So the good news is you can decide what your body looks like in 2 years. I'm de-aging, by the way. I decided I'm going backwards. I'll be 60 next year, but I do not look 60.
No, you do not.
Feel 60. I do not feel like I'm in my 60th year. So I've decided, and it's not because I'm afraid of getting older. See the difference, right? If I'm afraid of getting older, I can't also be excited about de-aging. Those two things cannot live in the same thought.
2 different energy spectrums, right?
And it's okay to be afraid of getting old. Our culture teaches us it's terrible to get old, especially as women, right? But I've decided I'm not going to do that. I tried as an experiment to change my eye prescription to look younger, to feel younger. And so far, so good. I've been doing it for about 10 years now.
Yeah, you look incredible. You're just not aging. I like it. De-aging. That's incredible. And so it takes 2 years. So have you seen people, and does it take 2 years to make these, any kind of changes of energy, or
a physical manifestation of a thought about your body happens to take about 2 years. And I don't mean like in 2 years automatically it happens.
Right.
It takes 2 years, right? But I think other advances are quicker, right? So right now in this moment, if the listeners and viewers can think about something they've been kind of hanging on to a little bit too much, or like, that anger about that argument, or like that sadness about that whatever, or that irritation or frustration or agitation, something light like this, nothing too deep. Just ask yourself, do I enjoy feeling this? Do I enjoy thinking this? right? And if you do, that's okay. That's great. If you do, right? Sometimes we need to hang on to things for a little while. But if you're like, oh, I'm sick of this, ask yourself what you prefer. Instead of this frustration, maybe you want peace. Maybe you want comfort. Maybe you want quiet. Maybe you want happy, whatever it is. Now, just choose it. Literally just choose it. A good way to describe this would be like you can turn your pain receptors off. And I'm not an expert on, I'm not a neurologist, none of this is medical advice, but I will say, so I don't want to speak to people who have tremendous pain and chronic pain syndrome, things like that. But let's say you're getting a headache. I hate headaches, by the way. I even hate hiccups. I think when we have a lot of trauma in our body, we just hate like bodily things. So when I feel a headache coming on, I used to be the kind of person I would jump to take the Tylenol because I don't want to feel the pain. But I've learned about essential oils and reflexology, and I'll try other things first, right? More natural remedies. But basically, I don't like that feeling. And okay, an example would be I just had a dental appointment a couple weeks ago. Some crowns were being replaced, and I was in a lot of pain. They didn't, in my opinion, they didn't give me enough Novocaine. So I asked my brain, just with my conscious thought, turn the pain off, just turn it off. And it worked. It worked. Like the next time you feel a mild pain, maybe you trip and you fall and, maybe someone, your dog runs into you, at the dog park or something. But just when you feel some pain in a moment, like maybe trip up the stairs or something, turn the pain off. Just turn it off. 2 years ago, was walking up my front steps, aggregate kind of rocks, and I tripped with a bunch of grocery bags and the entire right side of my body was scraped. And I couldn't talk. I couldn't even make noise. That's how much pain I was in. I crawled up the steps into my bathroom and I put the water on. And I guess I was kind of doing self-Reiki. And I told myself, my wrist is fine. Instead of like, my wrist is not broken. Not that, because you just told the brain your wrist is broken when you do that. My wrist is fine. My wrist is healed. I'm great. And I was on my way a couple hours later to a major event. I could not have this inconvenience in my life. And I swear to you, for about 3 minutes, my husband came in the bathroom. Are you okay? Are you okay? And I was like, shh, shh, shh.
Yeah, I need a minute. I need a minute.
And I stood up. And not only was my wrist okay, but the scrapes were not as bloody. I mean, I left like a bloody trail from the front door, but I self-healed in that moment. And I didn't know I could do that. And I asked my brain to turn the pain off, and it did. So try it. You could ask your pain to go away for a moment.
I have
You could ask it to.
I have heard this.
Brain is very powerful.
The brain is very powerful. Obviously I'm congested and I went into acupuncture and she's like, well, are you congested or runny nose? I was like, I have a runny nose. And she put a needle in my finger and immediately that was gone. I mean, just that fast. I mean, so this whole mind body healing is incredible. It really is so powerful.
Brain system. We are a ball of energy with a lot of different points and pressures, and we can rub our earlobe with that headache, behind the ear, peppermint oil. We have a lot of hacks now that we can do this, but it really just comes down to regulating the nervous system, getting the body to a place of neutral. And neutrality is a big thing here. This is what I've learned in coaching. I have a client who might say, I hate my body, but they want to love their body, right? But the bridge from I hate my body to I love my body is pretty steep. It's a pretty, how do you do that, right? And as a coach, I'm not here to tell them how to do it, but it helps my client if I say, okay, you hate your body now, you want to love your body over here. How about if we go to neutral? I have a body is neutral. And if this client can get to a place of peace and comfort with I have a body, now we can lean into how much I like my body and I love my body and the ways I do. But it's really hard to go from one opposite to another.
Right. But you hear that also in everything, right? So if you go from people who feel really poor and they want a lot of money, I mean, that mindset gap is a lot. Like I hate my body those are extremes, right?
I have a bank account.
Right.
I want to have a baby. I'm infertile. I want to be holding a baby in my arms. I'm in a fertility journey. The word fertility feels a lot different from the word infertility, doesn't it?
It does.
My doctor, I had a baby at 43. I also had a baby at 23. And my doctor said to me, I'm an infertility specialist. And I said, I think you're a fertility specialist because you helped me get pregnant. Just the word can hold the energy, right? So if you're sitting here thinking, I can't do something, but I want to do something, the ability to do it is neutral. Am I ready? Am I willing? Am I able? Am I capable? Those are great questions to ask yourself. And that's going to get you there more than sitting here like, oh, I wish for something. That's not true right now.
Yeah, and you know what I feel like is great about all of this is I feel like we were going through coaching sessions, right? So if you've been listening and you're still on with us, this is what you can actually expect. You should expect from a coach. They can help you get to where you want to go. And Des, really fast, I want to talk about how do people how do people kind of evaluate, right? How do we look at credentials? I know you said they can continue on. Credentials are really important. What should somebody be looking for in a coach to build? I mean, it's a relationship, right? But it's also you want to make sure they're representing themselves the right way. Everybody can go to a weekend course for $20. But how do you know? What are we looking for?
I think two things you're looking for: compatibility and credibility. Credibility comes from a coach who's been credentialed by the International Coaching Federation. So you might see that they have an ACC, a PCC, or an MCC behind their name. You might see that symbol on their website, something like that. Also, coaches who are vetted by the National Board for Health and Wellness Coaching, they have a certificate or credential there as well. So NWHWC or ICF is kind of what you're looking for. And of course, Sophia Health and BetterHelp and other platforms like Zoe will vet coaches, right? You'll know you can trust those coaches because Sophia Health has vetted them, right? But I think compatibility is just as important. If you get on a compatibility call with a potential coach and you're not feeling it, it's not the right coach for you. And if you're leaning more toward, I want to talk more about my body, you're going to want a wellness coach. If you're wanting to talk about, grief and career, maybe it's a career coach or a life coach. If you're an entrepreneur or a corporate employee, it might be, maybe you're an executive, you might lean more into business coaching. But coaching is coaching. A great coach, a greatly trained coach and credentialed coach will absolutely be able to talk to you about any aspect of your body and life and career and whatever, right? In other words, even if they call themselves a career coach, a credential coach can talk to you about other areas because your career affects other areas, right? So I think don't worry about experience. Someone who's freshly trained, someone who's newly credentialed is probably doing some of the best coaching they'll ever do because they're eager and they're freshly trained.
Good
So
to
I
know.
don't worry about the experience as much as the compatibility match. Energetically, are you feeling it?
Mhm.
Are they highly trained to do, if they don't understand when to refer, how to refer, suicidal ideation, trauma recovery, trauma informed care, you don't want to sign up for their coaching because it can be more dangerous to you to not have someone who knows how to handle certain situations that might come up.
That's great. So definitely look at their compatibility and credibility. I think that is what we're trying to do is provide all of the transparency so people can make really informed decisions. I think that's great. Now, I want to circle back really fast to your book, The Qualitarian Lifestyle. So we're talking about coaching and helping people get to where they want to go. We talked about the mind-body connection. So how does this qualitarian lifestyle play into your day-to-day? How does this play into this?
Every decision I make is based this way. So let's say, so this is in the book. It's a little bit of a spoiler, but this is such a good example. So it's not just what you're doing, but it might be the company you're keeping, the people that are around you in your home, in your workspace, things like that. But I used to be married to someone who, when I gave him the shopping list and I put rice on the shopping list, I was hoping to get, like, I don't know, Uncle Ben's in a box, but he would go to the bottom shelf and buy the 10-pound bag of the broken white rice and bring it on it. And I thought, I don't want to save $1.10 to get the like, I want the good rice. I don't want the bad rice. And part of me is like, oh, that rice, I don't know where it was grown. Was there DDT in it that the US sent over to China? All this stuff goes through my head. So it's about, I would buy the top shelf rice. I sound like I'm talking about vodka here. The top shelf versus the bottom shelf rice. And I don't mean that if you have less money that you shouldn't buy the more affordable rice. I'm talking about that big bag on the bottom shelf that, just for 10 cents more, you get better rice. So it's also about allowing that in your life, right? Let's say you have a roommate, maybe you have your rice and they have their rice. Chocolate is a good example. I love chocolate, but honestly, I can't even eat a Hershey's bar anymore. I have to go for the higher quality now because I know better. And maybe I need a smaller piece of it now. So it's not even more expensive, right? So I think of this as, if I have a potential client, is this a quality client? If I want to make a new friend, is this a quality friend? A business partnership, is this going to improve the quality of my business? And if it's not, I'm not going to do it. That's my gauge. Is it improving the quality of my life or not? But that's
Wow.
easy to make decisions from that place, right?
Is this really transforming your clients' lives when they start thinking from this lens of, I don't want to say selfishness, but, we should be selfish like this. Like,
Oh,
it's our
centric.
time, it's our, yeah.
We should be centering our lives on ourselves. And the reason for this, and I'm not saying that we're not community, that we shouldn't, be connected and supporting others. What I mean is, if you are not taking care of yourself, if you're not centering your life on yourself, you're not going to be good for anyone. You couldn't be a great mom without doing that, right? Or a good spouse or a good business partner or a good whatever, right?
It's the same when you're flying, right? Put your mask on and then help other people. You cannot help other people if you don't have oxygen. It's the
Otherwise,
same concept.
you
That's right.
both die,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
So I think it's really easy to kind of, we're people pleasers. So if I teach this concept to my clients in a workshop and they utilize it and they have someone trying to be their friend, but it's really draining. Maybe they met someone on social media, they're trying to be friends with them, they're saying yes to everything, but they're not asking themselves, like, is this a quality friendship I want in my life? Is this adding to my life in a quality way? But if they do ask themselves that and the answer is no, they can let that friendship go. Just because that other person wants to be their friend doesn't mean they have to be their friend, right? So life is short. Life is beautiful if you're not making decisions from what other people want and what's lowering the quality of your life. And that self-centeredness, right, is not selfish. And self-care is not a luxury, like going to the spa and getting a massage. It's necessary. It's like
Right.
baseline.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I really am so glad you said that. So many people think self-care is like, oh, go paint your nails. And it's like, no, this is talking about taking care of your mental, physical, spiritual, emotional well-being. Like it's necessary.
Every single day, all throughout the day, we have these quality choices. And we are choosing a lot of lower quality things. Oh, I can't afford that. Oh, I need to, save that for someone else. I need to give to others and not myself, whatever it is. It's lowering that energy and that life vitality we have to get through our day. So if you go shopping, let's say to like a Target kind of store, like a department store, ask yourself at the end when you're checking out, is everything in the cart for someone else? Is it all for you? Is it a mixture of two things, right? I'm always like, oh, my daughter would like this. Oh, my son would like this. Oh, my sister, I'm a giver, right? And that's a beautiful thing. But if I have a cart full of things for everyone else and not me, I get home, I unload those things, I give all the things away. I'm also happy. And then I'm sitting there like, oh, I forgot my shampoo
Yep.
for myself.
Right.
That's why I went to the store in the first place, right? So I think attention to self is probably the best way to put it. If you are attending to yourself, noticing what you need. Here's a great coaching question I use all the time. What do you need right now? What do you want right now? Like, what I would say? I need comfort right now. Okay, what's comfort? Comfort means I'm going to sleep in an extra hour. Great. I just made a life choice right there, right? Based on quality of my life and my day.
That is super powerful. So you must have seen a lot of clients who were giving away their time, money, energy just to other people. So you're trying to reel the clients back to make a better quality life for them. Is that kind of what happened with this?
Absolutely. The baseline with clients when I first meet them is we talk about their hydration, their movement, and their rest, because one of the first signs of dehydration is irritability, One of the first signs of sedentary lifestyle is mild depression. And one of the first symptoms of not getting enough rest is agitation. So if we talk
Wow.
about those things, it's going to be easier for me to coach them. They're going to be living an easier life, right? These are very simple practices, but very powerful.
Yeah, it's also very powerful, but it also seems like, more of that health lens. So I love the holistic life coaching perspective, right? So it's just taking that holistic approach to take care of you. Like you would never think that when you come to a holistic life coach, the first thing they're going to ask you about is your sleep and your hydration and your movement, right? So if they're not asking you that when you guys whoever's listening right now, they're not asking you that on day one, I would say find somebody trained by Des
Even
because it's
billionaires.
powerful.
Billionaires are really gauging their wealth by their regulated nervous systems, right? I always hear about like sleep is the new, thing that people are after. And, even things like cleaning up your system, cleaning out your body, right?
Right.
I'll give
Detox.
you, here's a way you can tell whether you need a parasite cleanse, for example. So go to the store and get yourself some organic cranberry juice,
Uh-huh.
organic pomegranate juice, right? Preferably in the same bottle. I know Sprouts has them in the same bottle. But either way, you can buy 100% cranberry and 100% pomegranate, like Trader Joe's or whatever. So either mix those two or buy the bottle that has both of them in it, cranberry and pomegranate juice. Just take like a couple tablespoons, put it in your mouth, swish it around in your mouth, like mouthwash, and then just gently spit it into a paper plate, like a white plate, like a white dinner plate or a paper plate, and see what's on the plate. And then take alcohol, like rubbing alcohol, and you're going to see things that look like bugs. They look like fleas kind of, right? And they're really small. Most of them are microscopic, but you're going to be able to see them now. Now you're going to take the alcohol, like 2 tablespoons or whatever, and put it on the plate, and now you'll see them all swimming around, jumping around because they're dying because you just killed them with alcohol. So that's a way to see if you need a parasite cleanse. It will totally freak you out. We all have them, right?
Yeah,
But we
right.
don't want too many of them, right? So something like that could be like, oh, you know what? I need a parasite cleanse. So every quarter is what I recommend. If you go to a sushi restaurant, this is why pregnant women aren't supposed to go into sushi restaurants. There's airborne bacteria. This is parasites in the air, right? So we all at the longest stretch every 2 years, I would do this, even with kids. But I do it every quarter because I just want to keep my body clean. Because if I have more parasites in my body, the wrong kind of parasites in my body, I'm going to have brain fog. I'm going to not get the nutrients I need out of my food because the parasites are eating all those nutrients, right? So eat simple things like that. Cleaning out your body, eating a great diet, the best one you can, the best water you can have access to, the best rest you can have access to, right? Power napping if you can't get it at night, things like that. And when I say movement, I don't mean exercise. I mean just like 8 minutes of movement. Think about it like eight glasses of water, 8 hours of sleep, 8-minute walk. Just give yourself a number. Do something like that, right? To remind yourself. 8 fruits and vegetables throughout the day, whatever it is. But maybe you can't get 8 hours of sleep, but maybe you can get some power napping in if you only get 6 hours, right? 50 years ago in the United States, on average, Americans were getting 10 hours of sleep on average. We're getting about 5.5 now. So at only 50 years, evolutionarily, we cannot catch up with that kind of change. That's why we have road rage. That's why we have a lot of issues with our bodies. Our circadian rhythms,
Allergies.
all of it, right? So just, this is how much sleep you need, by the way. Give yourself, maybe on vacation, maybe on a long weekend, don't just set your alarm for 3 mornings in a row. So go to bed when you're tired, wake up when you wake up, go to bed when you're tired, wake up when you wake up. On that third morning when you wake up, count how many hours you slept. That's how much sleep you need right now. It's going to change next year. It's going to change when you're a teenager, when you get older, whatever. But right now, that's how much you need. So let's say you need 10, but you're only getting 6. Do 6 hours a night, 4 power naps throughout the day. 10 minutes, head resting on your desk to the front, not the side, not the back. It's when your brain is floating in the front of your skull, your brain thinks you're asleep. So even a 10-minute power nap, Tesla used to do this, Einstein used to do this, Madame Curie used to do this. 10 minutes is about an hour sleep equivalent. So 6 hours of sleep, 4 power naps. Now you got 10 hours of sleep. So just little things like that it literally changes your life.
I mean,
Because,
these are the best holistic health life hacks I've ever heard. These are
you know,
incredible.
simple, you know, easy to fold into your life for sure. A lot of us think like, oh, I have to go to a clinic. I have to go to some, retreat or something. Now this is everyday life stuff.
Yeah, to take care of yourself. And if you want more of these hacks, find a holistic life coach to help take care of you, put your life on track. Des, thank you so much for being here and sharing all of this wonderful information. It's been just eye-opening and incredible, and I already feel relaxed in my shoulders, which is amazing. But before we go, we do ask our guest a question. If you could, please share 3 fundamental pillars that contribute to your well-being.
Wow. I'm going to say the movement, hydration, and rest. I am 59 years old. I don't drink a lot of water. When I was growing up in the 70s, by the way, none of us had water bottles, but I drink, I don't know, maybe a half a gallon of water a day, but I drink good water. I get a Berkey, I filter my water. Spring water is the best if you can get it. So if you're at the store, drinking water, spring water, buy the spring water if you're buying bottled water. My rest, I sleep on average about 10 hours a night. Yay. And movement, I do my shaky board thing 10 minutes a day. I usually go to the beach, take a walk. I go to the dog park, I make it functional. So I'm not like going for a walk. I'm walking my dog. I'm not going to the beach, although that's fun. I'm going to the dog beach and we run around, right? So I move my body every day. I get a lot of sleep or a lot of rest, and I drink water. Those are my 3 basic, that's what makes me feel better.
And this is why you look amazing, you sound amazing, and you're going into a de-aging scale for sure. So for those of you listening, definitely check out Radiant Life Coach in Dez's book, which we're going to link in the show notes. Please check out the Qualitarian. It's available on, well, Des, you tell us where it's available.
Basically, Amazon's probably the best way to get it. Yep. But yeah, if you go to my website, dezstephens.com, you can click it through there. But yeah, where books are sold.
Yeah, that's incredible. Thank you so much for being here, Des, and sharing all this knowledge on the holistic life coaching and the Qualitarian lifestyle and just bringing your work to the entire world. It's just powerful. And we thank you for all the work you're doing for everybody.
Thanks so much for saying that.
Thanks so much for listening. This has been Sophia Unfiltered, a podcast by Sophia Health, the #1 marketplace for health and wellness. Find services, classes, and products from the top health and wellness providers. Book an appointment or join live classes now. I'm your host, Riley Rees. If this episode resonated with you, we'd love to hear about it in the comments section of your favorite podcast provider or with a 5-star rating. Let us know what your biggest takeaway from this episode was, or share it with someone you hope to inspire. Join us again next time for more real conversations, stories, and insights that help empower you with the knowledge and inspiration needed to transform how we care for ourselves.